What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and we're here with Treasure Map versus S-Shark. We got the final release information about the treasure map and stuff, and I know a lot of people have already made a bit of discussion in terms of the boosted list. I totally agree that the boosted list this time around is not that great in terms of, like, some free-to-play characters just really should be higher boosted than what they're currently rated. I believe people were also saying that the Blackbeard Sugo Fest that came out in February, none of those characters are on the banner, and that's correct. None of them are here, which is just absurd, honestly. I have no idea why they opted to do that. And like usually characters, they will typically be boosted for quite a long time, so it's very weird to see that. And then even like Cross Guild's badge, I assume Cross Guild is a boosted unit when I was like going through like trying to figure out teams. Yeah, so they are boosted, but they're only down to 1.2, relegated already. So I really don't like that they're doing that, and I really hope that that changes in the near future. I really hope this is kind of like an oddity that, you know, randomly they decided to not do that, because it really devalues some characters that you opt to pull for in Sugo Fest. I just think it's just an overall terrible idea. You know, Treasure Map is already a slog as it is, and doing that just makes things even worse. So, big thumbs down, on my opinion, in regards to that. But talking about the new unit and getting into the teams, of course, here's Lucci Kaku and Stussy. This unit with the Super Evolution, I think this unit's not too bad. I think this is a unit that will see some kind of play, removing Special Bind, Chain Reduction, and then also giving Chain Boundary, can do Captain Switching effects, applying Resistance down. I just think that it's a solid unit. It's not the most broken free-to-play treasure map character that we've ever received, but it's not terrible, you know? We've definitely had worse, that's for damn sure. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the breakdown for each individual fight. So our first boss is going to be against the Monkey D. Luffy, age 70, and he's a strength boss, and you do see that I am using a non-boosted character as the captain with Carrot, mainly just because the character that's recommended for this fight, which is the CP0 Rob Lucci character before super evolving, that's the recommended unit here, but I am using that recommended unit for another fight later on in this video, which is why I'm not opting to use them here. But ideally, by using Carrot, we don't have to worry about removing the damage threshold, because whenever you remove the damage threshold, he basically reapplies it, which is really annoying. And then by using the Izo and Okiku on stage 2, not only does it wave clear, but it gives us chain lock for multiple turns, and it gets around the chain attack down that he will apply. So Carrot gets around the threshold, Izo, Okiku get around the chain attack down shenanigans, and the three other characters on this team are completely replaceable. You do not need them. But as long as you have that kind of strategy involved, it's not a very difficult fight. Moving on to our secondary fight, we're going to be using the recommended characters for this quest that they suggest, which is going to be the free-to-play Kobe and the free-to-play treasure map Garp. These two characters in tandem with each other will remove all of the debuffs by itself, and you know, you do see that the enemy, when you actually kill the enemy, will do damage. 1 times their attack is damage to you. Kobe's special ability reduces the enemy's attack, which is really nice, so it actually mitigates a bit of that damage. Garp gives us an attack boost, slot change. Kobe gets around the special reverse and the despair and stuff, and the bind. And then the rest of the characters on this crew are basically just here for more damage. We've got Sanji for chain boundary. We've got the, well, you probably need to have a Luffy on the crew in some capacity to get some of these effects to activate. You got Zoro for an orb boost, Frankie for color affinity. Just some pretty generic free-to-play team with side units. As long as you use the Kobe and the Garp, gets around basically everything that you need to worry about. Moving on to the next Battle Rush boss, we have the Dex Zoro. So with this fight, the way that it's kind of structured is they want you to use the recommended units of Arlong as well as the Drake. Now, the thing is when you reach the boss stage, there's 2 different sets of gimmicks that can occur. There's gimmicks when you fall above 70%, and there's also different gimmicks that will occur for the preemptive attack when you're below 70%. So ideally, you actually want to be below 70%, and you're able to achieve that if you're using Arlong crew as your captain. They have the ability to cut your health at the end of every turn, and with their captain ability, upon super evolving, they can resist special reverse, which gets around a lot of the gimmicks. There's also special reverse for your crewmates as well. However, with Arlong's special and the way that it kind of works, when you use their special, it will charge your character's specials. There will be an interrupt in regards to that. It does only occur 1 time though, but it does do more special reverse, and it also cuts your health. Cutting your health is completely okay because Arlong crew gets better activation with his special when you're at lower HPs. So you can activate 1 Arlong crew, tank the hit, then go ahead and use the second Arlong Crew special to get even more benefits. And then also we've got the Drake character. Drake gives us a full board of quick slots, gets an attack and all boost, and allows us to kind of get around the slot barrier that occurs on the enemy side of the field. So the Drake and the Arlong Crew get around basically everything here. The rest of the characters on this team, Kid, Brook, and Whitebeard, are only here to fulfill the condition for Arlong Crew to have one of every color, and I wanted to make sure I had either slashers or strikers to make sure that Drake's special actually buffs those units. But it's kind of redundant. As long as you fulfill the role of having one of every color on your crew for the Arlong Crew's effects, that's the most important component here. But Arlong Crew and the free-to-play Drake get around all the gimmicks by itself, so make sure to just build around those characters. Now we move on to the fourth boss, which is Lilith the Evil. This is a pretty annoying fight. This whole gimmick of this quest is they want you to use the Dofi, Perona, Gecko Moria, and Gecko Moria, Perona, and then Dofi Sugar with those Rare Recruit characters. They want you to use those units in this quest. While that does work and is probably more ideal, this team came to mind mainly just because of the way that Queen works. So with the way that this team works is you would ideally have double Queen as your captain, activate both of your Queen captain actions on stage 2 to become invisible, and then when you reach the final stage, he ignores the special bind, he ignores the despair, he ignores the paralysis on himself, and it allows you to use his special then to get a full board of tandem slots, huge color affinity for your cerebral and driven characters, and then he also does do end of turn damage, which gets around the enemy's resilience. And then with the support of Kaido, it does give a 1.5 attack and orb boost to your driven characters, so Queen himself will actually do a pretty good amount of damage. Now there is a bit of paralysis that occurs to your crew, so we've got the Blackbeard and the Jinbei supports to just remove the paralysis. We don't even have to remove the special bind, and then you ideally just final tap with the Queen that you activated, should do enough damage to just kill. As you go in deeper into this treasure map, the enemy is going to have quite a lot of HP, which will make this pretty difficult to clear. So I think in early stages, this team will work, but as you go deeper into the TM, this team likely needs to change. Alright, so now we can get into the final boss, which is versus the S-Shark. Now, this team is also using an unboosted character with the Robin and Jinbei, mainly due to the gimmicks on stage 2. Now, we are using another TM legend, which is the Kara and Nami, mainly due to the fact that their special ability removes bind and it removes burn. So we would use the super switch and their special to get rid of the bind, get rid of the burn, and then we would also activate the super switch and special of Robin and Jinbei to remove the enemy's damage reduction. And with that, that should be probably enough damage to get through with those specials activated. And then when you reach the final boss stage, once again I probably should have mentioned that the friend captain for this team is going to be Atlas, the new treasure map legend Atlas, who is very important for this. As you reach the final boss stage, the enemy gives you recovery slots. You are going to be under blindness status with this team, which is another thing that kind of sucks. And there aren't really any characters that remove it aside from one of the TM boosters, which I believe is York, so it's a bit of a bummer there. But the reason why Atlas is kind of important here is because the enemy puts up a debuff, or a buff on their side of the field, that says if you hit them with a Strength, Dex, Quick, Sight, Int, Recovery, Tandem, or a Wano slot, then they reduce the damage that they take by 90%. Now, there's no characters in the game that can remove that aside from Atlas, so you would probably want to be abusing that special here on the final stage. However, there are other ways you can get around it, because Semler slots are not affected, empty slots are not affected, so if you can somehow abuse that in your team build, that could also be an option. Now, as for getting around the chain locking effects, after it's all said and done, we would activate the special of our Lucci character, which says that he gives us a chain lock, but then we have the support of the Cavendish. Cavendish's support will give a guaranteed quick slot to Lucci, meaning that when we tap with him, he's going to buff his chain lock, making it 3.75, and it will actually bypass the chain attack down that the opponent has inflicted to your crew. There is a slot barrier, but Atlas can do that, so you would activate all your specials, and the very last special you would launch would be Lucci, which would give him the quick slot, and then the rest of your slots would be strength due to the Atlas effect that you'd be activating, and then you just kind of kill. So it's an interesting team. I don't know how it's going to be actually performing, but as long as you've got Atlas as the friend captain, it shouldn't be too difficult, of course. And the Mihawk on the team is just kind of here because it's a cerebral unit that kind of works. You do need a full cerebral team, for Atlas's superclass to become active, which is vital for the team to work effectively. And then moving on to the Intrusion Battle to finish off this video, we have this team right here. Now, once again, this is going to be using the brand new Sugofest exclusive Atlas as our friend captain, as she has a very, very useful set of skills for this particular piece of content. So this team is going to be using the TM Crocodile as the captain. You do see Nami Karina on the team as well, which I know is a character that not everyone is going to have access to. You would want to replace that character with someone that can set the enemy's defense to 0. But another good thing about Nami Karina is that in the Karina state, it also does help you with attack down removal, and it also helps with defending the death damage that does occur on stage 3. But the way that this occurs on this with this team is that on stage 2, we have Kobe to remove the Bind and Despair on our captains, and then we also have just a lot of damage coming in with a Crocodile special with Chain Boundary attack boost. Should be more than enough damage to get through. And then on the final stage, there's a lot of different gimmicks that are occurring here. Atlas Special will set the enemy's slot boosting effect that they give to you. That'll become a stackable orb boost, which allows other orb boosts to be activated. When you launch the special of Atlas, it's also going to give you an attack boost, which is great. And then eventually when we activate Atlas's superclass, that will give us another orb boost and a full board of slots that is uninterruptible, which is important because if you manipulate your slots in any way on the final stage, the enemy will go ahead and give you super block slots, which obviously you don't want to deal with. So we're getting around that by using the superclass of Atlas, which is what they want you to do. We also have Karina to remove the attack down, remove the defense, give us threshold damage reduction to tank the hit. And we also have Jinbei to remove the enemy's damage threshold. We have Lucci just because it's somewhat of a high point booster here. Also gives us a chain lock, which is kind of nice. And then to finish up, the last special we would use is the superclass of Atlas to give us the full board of slots and an orb boost. So we're going to have a pretty serious amount of damage. Despite the fact Atlas is going to be the only character with type advantage, should be more than enough damage to get through this quest. And with all of that, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. I'll be having a couple of pulls up from the Sugofest coming up very shortly, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel for that one. Hope you did enjoy it though, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with all the One Piece Treasure Cruise content coming forward in the future. But on that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.